Namaste and welcome to this exciting episode of Sattology, debunking mythology. Sattology means science or truth, a study of truth. Opposite of that is mythology, which means science or study of fake, lie, or imagination. I have very special guest, and you must have already guessed it. I call him the Rishi, Muni, Tapasvi, and also Sadhaka. And he has overall knowledge of the totality of Vedic culture. That's the best part, because then you can speak to him freely. And he was in a recent India tour all over India, and he made a wonderful movie for the G20 summit. And I won't tell you which it will come out. When it comes out, it comes out. So let us welcome Shri Nilesh Nilkant Oak.
Namaskar, Aditya ji. Let me give you greetings on the very auspicious day of Mahashivratri, and to all our viewers, all the participants.
Har Har Mahadev.
Har Har Mahadev. Om Namah Shivaya.
Namah Shivaya. So what a beautiful day today to record this show, because when we talk about Sur and Asura, and it is generally, Mahadev is approached by all kinds of people. Because he's Mahadev for everybody, just like the Suryadev. Suryadev is worshipped by Asura as well as Sur. So the one thing which really comes in is that Asura, despite receiving blessings from Mahadev, they act against Mahadev most of the times, against his purpose, his teachings and other things. And we also see the confusion of mind of these Asura. And nowadays these Asuras have started taking shelter of the science. So while they are studying Veda, they will use science to discredit Veda and then publicly put on a tilak to show they are Vedic. Hypocrisy is like that prime level. So what do you have to say on this?
Okay, I have a lot to say, but I'll try to limit myself on this. Of course, let's start with the word Asur. Asur have the word, and its meaning has also evolved over time. Okay, so there is one thing. So many people don't understand, and there are like self-professed grammarians. In the Sanskrit, like Vyakaranist. There are good ones and there are snobby ones. For example, like Vyakaran focuses on the roots and a sandhi, and where the word originated. That's where we understand the scientific aspects of Sanskrit. Not necessarily every word, but a majority of Sanskrit. It's Kruta. It's in a way a synthesized language. But you see, the source has come from very natural, natural voices, natural sounds, and so on. So like what we will say in a physics or in a hard sciences, like from first principle, you start with a mass balance, energy balance, momentum balance, and so on. So therefore, it's a language. Now, Vyakaran focuses on the root word, like how the words evolve. But the Asura, and that's why I just want to make that first comment. If you go into, say, Veda, like Rigveda, the Asura is used in a very positive way. Like Indra is called Asura, Varuna is called Asura. And it's very important so that people are not confused, that they understand that was used in a positive way. But over time, the words get different meanings. Like Rakshasa, for example, Rakshamiti Rakshasa, okay, the one who protects. But the one who protects, and therefore somebody who can protect, actually has to be strong and powerful oneself. Now, the power can corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And therefore, over time, a powerful person who's supposed to protect may actually become one who attacks you. In the same fashion, the word Asura has also evolved. There is another meaning to Asura, like the one who doesn't drink, doesn't consume alcohol. And in that sense, that is also a root of it. But over time, and I say by over time, I would say from a deep antiquity that we cannot even trace with our modern science and technology. Because you know what? Science and technology depends, or especially the way our scientific view is, it depends on the testable evidence, and which is a great thing. But it also therefore has its limitations, which is to say, if there is no testable evidence to a specific time period, we cannot talk of the civilization of that time. The civilization would have existed, may have existed, but if we don't have a empirical testable evidence that that can be captured with our modern sophistication of science and technology, then we cannot talk about it. So I'm saying the Rigveda goes to that deep antiquity beyond our ability to trace it with empirical science. From that time, like the Asura means, like, Varuna is the Asura and Indra is the Asura, all the way you fast forward to like only 7,500 years ago, to the time of Mahabharata. And if you look at Bhagavad Gita 16th chapter, I'll give it back to you on that one. There is a description of a Daivi Pravrutti and a Asuri Pravrutti. Okay. And that Asuri Pravrutti is the demonic. The English word demonic is actually correct in that sense. Utterly like the bottom of the barrel in terms of morality, bottom of the barrel in terms of attitude. That is the modern Asuras. Okay. And so that's my, so people must know what that difference is. And as to, I don't need to say anything, Aditya on Asura. Like anyone, people who are interested, all they have to do is open 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and for after the Daivi Daivi Pravrutti, just they should read Asuri and figure out for themselves, who are the Asuras. That is a litmus test. You can open 16th chapter and look at what you see in the media, what you see going around the global world, deep state, everything, and just see who the Asuras are.
And they make themselves clear, true to the point of Bhagavad Gita every time with their behavior.
They cannot hide. If someone knows 16th chapter and the test of Asura, they cannot hide. But people who don't know, they will take even these Asuras to be like a very genuine people, sometime for the betterment of the world, religious, right? Even dharmic. Even the Asuras are misunderstood as a dharmic,
Sometimes, yes, because because they dress up like that. Most of the Rakshas have appeared as Sanatan.
Right?
Now, another thing is like the science nowadays. I have seen in this last few weeks, since I'm observing for my new book, that most of the science origin taken from Yoga Sutra, my book, people are reading my book, and many people on the shows are reading my book currently.
What is the title? I know, on the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, but what is the title of the book?
Transcending the Mind.
Transcending the Mind. Okay.
It's called Yoga Sutra as It Is.
Very good.
Second title. And
actually you sent me the copy, but I left for India, I think, just then.
So now that book is people are using that book and sometimes misusing that book to comment on mind and intelligence and other things, which has already been presented. Like, so the Vedic knowledge is presented in a very rochak way, rochak in the sense interesting way.
Yes.
Where people will read it and get inspired. But when it comes to when you start presenting as a brain wave function and this mind and then the neurosystem, how it works, because you have to sell your neuroscience department to others.
Correct. Get the grant, get the National Science Foundation
grants. And it's completely like when you make it near us, like without any taste, without any substance. A substance you may think from your point of view, but generally they completely deprive it of the original flavor, where the original flavor is for common people to follow.
Yeah.
You don't need to tell them that how the brain wave will originate from this side of the brain, because brain is always dead.
Right.
And so that kind of, now what has happened is, because the religion is declining in the West and most of the Abrahamic world, and so they are now turning to science and turning into a dogma. So one day they say universe is 27 light years away, 37 light years away, and something else, they keep up coming up with that. So again, Asur Pravritti. Asur Pravritti means separating the real stories of creation away and the functioning of our own self away. Because as a common man, you and I are not interested in how the brain is sending the waves out. We don't know. It's happening within our body.
Yeah.
And that's called Atma Gyan, to observe prana all over the body. So what do you say about that? That today the science is being used to discredit the Vedic science.
See, what I will say is, like in like anything, if you take a a dharma framework, that there are genuine people and there are pseudo people. You are going to find that in science also. Now, everyone who applies for a National Science Foundation grant is not a crook, For example, if you don't do that, then people in academia will not able to do the research that is given. But just like any other field, there are genuine people and there are crooks, So that is always there. You said from when these guys are trying to do with the measuring with the waves, I think I'm not against that at all. I mean, see, for example, say if you go into meditation, like somebody studying Patanjali Yoga Sutra. By the way, so when you said mind and all that, so there is a chitta, mana, buddhi, and mind, and I mean there are subtleties of it which are not understood. Now somebody will just do the waves and say, oh yeah, that alpha state must be this, and beta state must be this, and so on. I'm not. At least I am not against that kind of research. I have a problem when the bigger picture is lost. For example, say Ayurvedic medicine, sometime when the medicine is taken, say suppose some essence of a whole fruit or something, I'm just making it up here. There is a reason why you take the whole fruit and not just the particular chemical which is active. Take turmeric, for example. And now what they're doing is they're taking the certain essential particular chemical in turmeric that, that something gives that. And, in the long run, they are going to find the problems with it. They will know the problem. That is not to say that the kind of research is discouraged. Definitely no, but also understand the wisdom of the nature, that uh, why something is taken in a holistic way. Because it's like even when we eat the fruit, I mean, I can just go on and I'll go on a tangent, but say take oil, seeds and oil. When you eat the seeds, or when you just press it as a cold press, mechanically pressed oil, then it has all the E vitamins and so on. Now what happens? You separate the E vitamins, you refine it so that it is deprived of all the good stuff, only the pure fat is remaining there. And now that you take that E vitamin and separate as separately sell them as E vitamin tablets. Why do that? Now I understand in some case because of the preservation and the shelf life and so on. So research is good, but then don't miss the whole picture. But what happens is, if you again go back to 16th chapter and Asura tendencies, you said Asura's point of view, why they do it. Well, exactly. I don't mean everyone, by the way. Just those who are, and of course they are not going to admit, but again we can use the test. What are they after? They are after only money. Nothing wrong with the money. For sustenance we need money, but only after money, only after popularity. And popularity just comes to you. You don't have to work for the popularity. But that's what people will do. And to that extent, by the way, you and me, Aditya and whoever, we have to recognize that we have that Asuri tendency, which is to say, suppose I go and give a speech. I mean, I have to now create this is another tangent. I have to create some website or something, because I cannot respond to people through social media or email. That's the kind of volume I see. So I have to find some interesting way, which means one-on-one I will not able to respond. But with that popularity, suppose I just get puffed up, then to that extent I got the Asuri tendency in me. I mean, I have to be aware of it. So I should enjoy, I should feel very happy that people are interested in listening to me, or reading my books and reading my blogs, watching my videos. But if I get puffed up, that is that ahankar, like feelings, oh yeah, I'm the great, who else is better than me or something, then to that extent I got entangled into that Asuri pravrutti. I mean, so that's what we have to all recognize. Anyways, back to you, and then once you say it, then I'll get into the subject.
I think we can get started now.
Okay, which is a not a separate subject, which is a segue into this. For example, so let me start sharing here. This is a huge, again, see, there is a lot of good stuff happening. We call it Indic Renaissance, just great stuff happening. Having said that, with that, since the wind is blowing in a certain way, suddenly people think, hey, this seems to be it's like a bubble, like a housing bubble and a gold rush, Klondike days, that kind of thing. Similarly, everyone is thinking, hey, let me also do something here. Now, this is not something suddenly started now, but yes, definitely in last few years, we can see that. But it was always there. But even in the old times, meaning go back 10 years, 20, 30, 40, 50, anytime you can see there are genuine folks, and then there are these fakers, And when I entered the Indic research, I will use the word here, Indic research field, just out of course, naturally my own curiosity and my own fascination and passion, uh, I was also, I would say, what do you say? What's the right word? The innocence gone or something like this. And I said, I mean, in this field, I understand in the business, you want to make some fake thing and sell and make money and quickly become rich or something. It's not correct, but I understand the motivation there. If it sells, sell it kind of thing, like snake oil or whatnot. I said, what could be the motivation for anyone to do something in the dharmic field? And now, of course, as you said, a Asura also comes with a tilak. I mean, can come with a tilak. Not that everyone who wears a tilak is Asura, but Asura can wear a tilak too. Asura can wear also a very Indic sounding dress also and talk the language, that to impress people. And the fools do get impressed, fools and novice. So everyone is not necessarily a fool, but people are innocent, and that innocence has been exploited. When I came into this field, I realized, yes, there were absolutely phenomenal people. I mean, I can tell the names. The reason I said Aditya, I can tell the names because there are not many. It's easy to tell these names, and specifically my research area. Like, see, for example, someone like Dharampalji. What he did. I mean, just a very meticulous work, tapasya, great tapasya. Even when the photocopy technology did not exist, he literally going down to British Library, writing it down. You know, uh, Great people, and everyone will have their limitations, everyone will have their faults. To err is human. So as we are, the very fact we are in the human body, the very fact we are in the material body is by definition, we have imperfections. So that is understood. But Dharampalji, I mean, many people are so caustic and talk against someone like Raju Malhotra. See, again, every person like Raju Malhotra has his what you say, own personality things. I mean, I have interacted with him. But if you focus on the whatever little negative that is there, that is to miss the all the great work that he is doing. Take for example Durvasa. I'll take two examples. Say if you look at Durvasa, the word itself, Durvasa is actually what you say, it's a placeholder. Somebody with a certain characteristics and a Rishi will be called a Durvasa. That's why Durvasa shows up everywhere. Durvasa shows in Ramayana and a Mahabharata and in the Puranas, because it is a particular characteristic person, just like a journalist show up everywhere. And with a few exceptions, most of the journalists these days have what? A very standard profile as to the greediness and all of that, right? With just a few exceptions. Similarly, in the case of Durvasa, certain mindset is there. The person may get angry very fast, short-tempered, and so on and so forth. My point is, if somebody only focuses on a Durvasa, actually, when you hear the news Durvasa Rishi is coming, that means you say, hey, you better be on your good guard. You just make sure that you don't upset that person. But if you just focus only on that part, then you miss the Rishi part. Let's take only other one more example. Say Vishwamitra. Okay, now in many stories of Vishwamitra, every time Vishwamitra is sitting for a tapashcharya, and then you see, the Indra is sending a Apsara, and I'm not going to what is the meaning of that, and so on. But let's take it literally. It's Indra is sending Apsara, and Vishwamitra falls for it. And then say a baby is born or whatever it is, and then again he says, oh my god, then suddenly he gets oh, what did I do? And he goes back to tapashcharya. But the Vishwamitra is an extremely powerful Rishi, a knower of Shastra, Astra, Yajna, so many mantras, I mean, we know that. So if you just focus on his one of the weak point, and yes, it is a weak point, and therefore it is a lesson for us. Okay. But there are these total elite and snobs and totally falling into these traps. They are not willing to listen from Durvasa and Vishwamitra and others. The point is, again, if I only focus on the Vishwamitra and whatever Ramba or whoever Urvashi falling into the trap, then I miss his Rishihood. And that's very important to understand. Similarly, in the Indic research, there are genuine folks and there are a much fakery that is happening now. I can tell you, happening on a large scale, but it was always also happening. There are not no some ideal golden times or anything like this. Now we can sit here and talk of 7,500 years ago, think of Mahabharata and say, oh, how fortunate the people were, like Bhagwan Krishna was there. Well, not so. The reason I say that is, like, if you, I mean, you are a student of Bhagavad Puran and everything, and you know that in Bhagavad Puran there is a shlok which says, how sad, that the Yadavas, the Yadukula in which Krishna appeared, when Bhagwan Krishna was there, these folks did not recognize his greatness. There is a shlok of that nature in Bhagavad Puran. It is the same thing. In contemporary to Bhagwan Krishna, there was that Poundra Vasudev doing all kinds of idiocy and tantrum. Okay, there was who is that? Help me, Adityaji. What is the name? The guy Krishna killed him with the Sudarshan Chakra, right? Shishupal, for example. Okay, Rukmi, who is a brother to Rukmini, always despised Bhagwan Krishna. Shishupal did not like Bhagwan Krishna. So these people were there. I mean, people ask me, Nileshji, how can you be so calm and even smile at your most idiotic trolls? They go to such an extent, Adityaji. One day we can do an episode on it. What extent they will go and do all kinds of nonsense in the background, somehow to try to pull my legs down. Okay, we talked about the Asura. That is what it is. See, Asura, instead of, I will come back to the Shiva. You mentioned Shiva. So if I forget, remind me before even I go into this. See, what happens is, the Asura tendency is such that instead of bringing themselves up with the tapasya, okay, now Asuras do tapasya, but I'll come to that in a minute, and attained certain excellence, certain perfection, they are busy at pulling others down. Why? Because they just simply, by their misfortune, they simply do not have the intellect, do not have the ability. And this is the immature intellect and Indic research that I want to talk about. But before I go there, you started with because of the Mahashivratri day, you started saying Asuras want to, will do the tapasya with the aim of pleasing Bhagwan Shiva. And then Bhagwan Shiva gives the blessings. Actually, many times, Adityaji, what you'll find is Bhagwan Shiva does not give the blessings and the reason to Asura. The reason is because the Asuras don't want the blessings. What Asura want is a proxy siddhi. Now, deliberately I use the word proxy siddhi because Asura want the siddhi. Now, see, wanting a siddhi and attaining a siddhi, there is a difference. For example, you with a tapasya, tapo balam hi sadhanam, Krishna says in Anugita. Everything great that has been achieved, all the great siddhis, all the perfections, all the excellence that has been achieved with a tapasya, with a tapo balam hi sadhanam. That is the only way. There is no shortcut. These asuras, and you can see the elites, you can see the elites, you can see my trolls. What are they busy with? All alternate Mahabharata researchers, exceptions none right now, I will tell you. Right now, this very moment, all alternate Mahabharata researchers, all dating researchers, all alternate Ramayana dating researchers, exceptions none. Now, how can I be so just confident and say that? I'm saying, prove me wrong. Okay, exceptions none are simply after into this Asuric tendency with the immature intellect. They know their limitations. They are incapable of doing a genuine research. And therefore, what is their strategy? Pull this guy down. They don't realize they are causing the damage. Now, they will not able to cause the damage. Actually, they are causing the good manthan. And I love that to take this Indic Renaissance further. But one point I want to mention, many points, but I'll mention one. Asura, typically, people should read. Therefore, people should read Ramayana, Mahabharata, Puranas also. And read every time, whoever that is, person, what is he doing? Okay, and I'm going to give an example to some modern medicine, for example. That is not to say that the medicine has no value. I'll come to that in a second. So, Krishna is saying in Anugita, tapobalam is sadhanam. If you want to achieve excellence, if you want to achieve something, do something original, damn it, get to tapasya. There is, guys, no alternate way. But some people just want to scratch their beard, right? Some people just want to see what others have done. Like on my research, they write books criticizing, and that's a good stuff, I mean, good stuff in the sense that the act is good, more people come to know of my research. But they should do a quality criticism, which they are incapable, very extremely immature and idiotic folks. But my point is, they write the books which are even thicker than my book. Critiquing my book. And guess what? Many times, in fact, I'll tell you, Adityaji, each of my book has a chapter, conflicting observations, where I say, out of say 300 observations of Mahabharata, like 10 observations that appear to, and in some cases genuinely, I mean truly, do not match with 5561 BCE, less than 10 out of 300 plus. In case of Mahabharata, out of 600, less than, I don't know, less than 10 again, less than 5, 6, 7, something like that, less than 10, let's say, do not match for 12,209 BC. Now, these immature folks, when they write these thick books about as if like critiquing, in reality, they just end up doing all stupidity. It's humorous, hilarious, entertaining. People should read those books and enjoy it, I'm telling you. And it is a test of the people too. If suppose somebody reads it and is convinced, and some actually once in a while the people come to me, okay, some in a very important position, they say, well, but Nileshji, that also feels convincing. I said, if you are convinced, follow that. I said, if you are convinced, then follow that guy's Mahabharata dating or Ramayana dating. And they'll say, oh, but that guy doesn't have a Mahabharata dating, or doesn't have a Ramayana dating. Or they will say that guy has a Mahabharata dating, but I read his book and it is all hogwash, I said, well, yeah, so now you have to decide. So why are you getting convinced? So is someone getting convinced about something or not convinced about something? It is also a reflection of that person's intellect, that person's maturity. But today what I want to talk about is just again to use Mahabharata as a intuition engine, let's say, to talk about this immature intellect, which, Adityaji, I was not aware until, I would say, I was aware through reading the other works, like works of Lokmanya Tilak or Shankar Balakrishna Dikshit, Dr. P.V. Kane, Dr. P.V. Vartak, many others. I was aware, but I did not realize how deep the rot was. That's what I would say. And then finally, when I came out very actively, especially after 2009, but I would say after 1995, then when I started looking at this, what kind of nonsense goes on? Okay. And this is so deep and so huge. I'm just going to take a few things here. So let me show you. This is our doubt clearing machine. In a modern science language, this is the logic of scientific method. There's all things came there. If you can take away this text, then you can see it's a triangulation of explanation, prediction, testing in the context of a theory and in the context of background knowledge. That is how Sir Karl Popper would describe the formula. Now, what I'm saying is, just let's say apply to anything. And those folks, all students, whoever, professors, researchers who are listening to this particular framework you can use anywhere to solve any problem. Now, some people are so immature, they think, okay, so if I just fill in the blanks, the problem is solved. No, hell no. Which world do you guys live in? Tapo balam hi sadhanam. Then you should be willing to do a long tapasya with no guarantee of success. How long? We don't know. Will I definitely get the solution? No guarantee. But the questions that you start with are like when, where, how, why, etc. Those are the type of questions that nobody has solved, and therefore you want to do something, then you are doing some original research. Otherwise, if you are doing Charvita Charvanam, just copy paste, then that's not original research. Aditya, that's my another nightmare. Like all kinds of jackasses, keep on sending me through email and stuff, like all the research they are doing. And therefore, I told you, like, I need some website, and just I can block these folks from even sending the emails. All kinds of things. And I said, politely, I said, well, I mean, this is not just one individual, this is many individuals. Everyone has some different tantrum. I said, guys, turn that into blogs, just like my trolls, and expose your foolishness to the world and let world decide if there is a substance in it. Okay, my trolls are good at that. They expose their foolishness with pride. Very nice. Write the tweets, write the blogs, write the books now, come on the YouTube, Okay. So just do that. I said, come on the YouTube, write blogs, write on academia.edu. There are bunch of my trolls, who are writing on academia. I said, hey, guys, go there, write it and let people decide. No, they will not do that. They will send me the email and say, Nileshji, what do you think? Yeah, they really don't want to know, Adityaji, what I think of them. So the problem is they don't understand what original research is. If you are just talking, actually, some of the people will write a whole big article and they say, hey, this kind of research needs to be done. So what have you done? All you have done is just written something and said, hey, somebody should do the research. What kind of tamas is that? What kind of laziness is that? So therefore, this framework will help you. This is not a guarantee. The tapasya has to go in. And even with the tapasya, there is no guarantee. Because are you following the methodology? Are you following the method to madness, the logic of scientific method? Those are the 5 things. And you start with a tough problem that is not been solved by anyone else. And if you are lucky and if you spend sufficient efforts, then you might come up with the output answer. Let's use that for Mahabharata. No, not just the dating. Therefore, I said, when is the dating, but where, how, why? These are not all dating questions, but they are related. Okay, contextual. Unless you understand that, you will not understand the wisdom of Mahabharata. You need to know when, where, how, why. Then only the wisdom can be used. So, for example, if you want to solve something, some question there, a tough problem in that area, which is related to Mahabharata, where do you start? It's a common sense. You will start with the Mahabharata text, nothing but that. But do you know why? People want to figure out when, and they go and look at the inscriptions. People want to know when did the Mahabharata war happen. They want to go and read some Purana. My dear friend, why? I mean, nothing wrong in reading inscription, nothing wrong in reading a Purana. But if you want to, I thought you wanted to know about the Mahabharata. So why did you not start with the Mahabharata? Somebody wants to know about Ramayana, and the person reads Purana. Person goes and reads some book written by a Chicago University professor. Hey, nothing wrong in reading a book by Chicago University professor, but why the hell you started there? Start with Valmiki Ramayana, for heaven's sake, not even any other Ramayana. Nothing wrong with reading any other Ramayana. Actually, these are wonderful books. Tulsidas's Ramayana, Eknath Maharaj, like in Marathi, for the Marathi folks, like say Bhavartha, I don't know if you can say it, the Bhavartha Ramayana. These are all phenomenal books if you are mature enough to know the context in which they were written. That is true for Valmiki Ramayana also. That is true for Vyasa also. If you are reading Mahabharata and if you don't realize that this is a puzzle, it is given as a case study to you. Grantham Granthi Tadachakre Munir Gudam Kutuala. You are just going to remain a fool before reading Mahabharata and after reading Mahabharata. Suppose you want to solve one of those questions, when, where, how, why, something that is not been solved, then you are doing something original. And if you are doing it, all these people who are writing to me these emails and write like long PDFs and send PDFs and says, Nileshji, please read and tell me what do you think. Well, many cases I think you are idiot. I mean, that is the response. I just try to be polite and it says, well, please publish here, please do this there and so on. At the end they say, hey, this should be research. So who the hell is going to do the research? That is what I mean by immature intellect and the Indic research space. Okay. Many are just doing charvita charvanam, copycat, nothing more. Many of the so-called say Mahabharata daters today, who claims a date, they are just copying and not even copying with authenticity, Adityaji. They are twisting their own things. Now, see, there is a difference to improvising and twisting. And I think we have done one episode on Dr. P.V. Vartak's work 5561 BC and why I have to do this again, if somebody has done it. And we will do that again if the time permits, and we'll do it. But back to this. So to answer this, now because the question is about Mahabharata, if it's a Ramayana, you replace Mahabharata with Ramayana there. So to answer that, if the question is related to Mahabharata, your starting point is just given. That's a common sense. If you don't have that much common sense, you are not eligible to do this kind of research. That's what I mean by immature intellect. Okay. So Mahabharata. So for example, the theory, we need a prameya. So what would be that? Mahabharata text descriptions are of Mahabharata times. You want to know something when, where, how, why, etc. of Mahabharata. Therefore, you naturally, with intelligence, some basic common sense, you came to Mahabharata text. And a theory statement could be like this: whether you explicitly state it or not, that's your theory. That's why you came to Mahabharata text. Suppose somebody wants to know when did the Mahabharata war happen, and the person says, you know what, I'm going to go to Karnataka and look at the Ayuri inscription. Okay, what is the intelligence of that person? Well, the person's theory is that if I look at the inscription written by some king, and if that person has written something word Bharat, I will take that as a Bharat. So Bharat must be Mahabharat. What else it could be? Now, what Bharat could mean Mahabharat, but if somebody uses the logic, if somewhere the Bharat is written must, which of course means Mahabharat, nothing else. I mean, the person is a damn fool. It may mean Mahabharat, it may not mean Mahabharat at all. And that is the case with the Ayodhya inscription. Jivan Rao has shown that. Not just Jivan Rao, many other folks have before Jivan Rao has shown that. But some Mahabharata researchers have taken that to be Bharata. Fine. Even when you make a mistake, the beauty of a Vyasadeva's Grantha or our great Rishi tradition, and therefore they have given multiple references. Some people ask me, why multiple references? Why there are repetitions in Mahabharata text about even the phases and positions of the moon. Say like when the full moon descriptions comes, beginning with say 10, 12 days and goes all the way until the Mahabharata war ended, 18th and 19 days. He says, why there are so many, why there is a need to give so many? Well, so that hopefully you get an idea that the 15th day of the Mahabharata war was around the full moon. But this is not for everyone. You need a minimum intelligence to do it. My point is, you went to the Mahabharata text because your assumption is that is your prameya, that is your conjecture, that is your guess. Mahabharata text descriptions are of a Mahabharata times. The reason, Aditya, I'm mentioning it is where the immature intellect comes in picture is people will go through this. Okay, so like they will look at my work or create their own work, a description of Mahabharata text, use some kind of either mathematical calculations, software, if it's astronomy, some software. If it is hydrology, then look at the hydrology related papers, geology, geophysics papers, and so on. If it's related to climate, some climate descriptions, like when the rain was beginning and what was the lunar month, and so on and so forth, just like Krishna Janma. Okay, we'll take that Krishna Janma and all the absolutely immature fun that is going on there. Okay, like what was the timing of a Krishna Janma in terms of season? Okay, we will talk about that as a separate episode. So you can start anywhere. The beauty of Vyasadeva, Valmiki, and the entire Rishi tradition is such that they anticipated this kind of immature efforts, and therefore they have put sufficient evidence so that even if you miss on one or a couple of them, still you are going to get the correct answer. Okay, that's the idea. And then once you decide what the your theory is, therefore the usage of this framework is a crucial. In fact, I will tell you guys, I mean, those of you listening, anytime you start doing research, anytime you start doing something, solving a problem, use this. Fill in the places, but filling in the places is not same as solving the problem. Okay, but this tells you if there is a certain space that you cannot fill in, which means your thinking is not mature yet. Okay, you need to go to some guide, go get hold of a guru, your professor, teacher, whoever, your friends, and just fill that information. Because if you are on the right track, you should have no problem filling this space. Okay, filling this 5 in the middle, and then the last 2 when your final project is successful and therefore it's over, meaning you have found the solution to the problem that you started with, you wanted to solve. Okay, now let's look at some of these things. Now I'm just bringing you back for a Mahabharata, for example, again as a tool, because I have worked so much and I have seen all kinds of fraud that is going on, I keep on using the Mahabharata and Ramayana, and of course, it is at my heart. But my point is, this can be done for everything. This is been done by me for everything. I have used, where should I say? I have used this in plastics. Okay, I have used this in power industry. I have power industry of all kinds. Okay, of course, the steam, not so much in the steam, but in the what do you call, gas turbines, aircraft engines, medical equipment like the MRI type of thing, in some software, like, in even in the mergers and acquisitions, like just like a checklist. If you want to do a due diligence on a certain company, so that is a problem. Like, should I buy that company? That's a decision making you have to do. Should I buy that company or let it go? So then again you go, why are you buying? So it starts with the top your theory. I mean, in this case slightly changes. It's not a theory. It's like saying, what's your objective? Is your objective to that company that you want to buy, are you looking at that as a competitive threat and therefore you want to buy to neutralize it? Are you buying it because in your product portfolio there is a gap that is not being filled and that particular company will fill that gap? Are you buying it because you have a free cash sitting there and you want to make it for a better use with a better returns, and that company is in a field where it seems to be doing good? See, these are the things that you have to answer at the top. Like, why are you buying? So you want to buy or not, that's fine, but why are you buying? And again, you can use even this 5-step or 7-step framework to decide that. I have done this. You can use this in buying a house. You can use this in buying a car, and so on and so forth. I am using just Mahabharata because, again, I have a purpose there. Why I'm doing it? Because for the Indic Renaissance, reestablish the Indian civilizational on a solid foundation, and so on and so forth. Therefore, I use these examples, but they can be applied anywhere. I can take an example of, and I have done this. There are some other tools, simple tools like QFD, quality function deployment. You can use to decide which car to buy, which house to buy, should you change a job, and so on and so forth. These tools can be used anywhere. So let's look at this from a, again, Mahabharata perspective. What evidence do we want to explore? Now, the previous one said generic one, right? Mahabharata text descriptions are of Mahabharata times. But descriptions of what? Well, that depends on what question you have. Is it when, where, how, why, so on and so forth. Suppose you have a questions, just again take when did the Mahabharata war happen? Now we say, what kind of evidence I want to explore? Is it the archaeology evidence I want to explore? Astronomy, hydrology, oceanography, genetics, on and on and on. 20 other disciplines of modern science you should able to name. Why do I say you should be able to name? Because I have looked at data from 20 plus different scientific fields, empirical data, published in books, published in peer-reviewed journals, and have connected that with 5561 BCE. Not only that I have connected with 5561 BCE, I have shown that it cannot be connected with any other date other than 5561 BC. So again, something that most of you are familiar because you are following me for a long time. But suppose where I started like taking astronomy, then I'm just trying to show you how the statements change. Everything else is remaining same. Of course, here it will become when. Okay, when. If the question was different, like if the question was how old is the tradition of Indian astronomy? Okay, then we want to just limit ourselves to Mahabharata. We will definitely include Mahabharata and say, well, Mahabharata is a deep ancient event. We don't know how old, assuming people don't know. Now people should know. It is 5561 BCE, 7,583 years ago. But if they don't know, they say, well, sometime in the past. But Mahabharata is not the only incident. What about Ramayana? And what about Rigveda? Do I find anything there? What about Puranas? What about other astronomy texts? So you may look at everything. So it depends on the question. But suppose if the question is about when did the Mahabharata war happen, and you decide to use a certain type of description. This is very important. Okay. You say, for example, I mean, the food, when you cook food with the right amount of spices, right sequence, right temperature, right amount of time something being cooked or fried or whatever it is, then only it tastes good. That common sense also applies when you do it here. Okay, so for example, if you are going to use astronomy evidence and see, hey, can I use that evidence to find out when Mahabharata what happened? Then guess what? Although Mahabharata text has a lot more, that time in that particular round, you have to only focus on astronomy. So therefore, notice how I changed the statement. Before it said Mahabharata text descriptions are of Mahabharata times. Now I said Mahabharata text astronomy descriptions are of Mahabharata times. What changed with the evidence? Instead of descriptions of Mahabharata text, astronomy descriptions of Mahabharata text. Okay, now here I didn't change, latest in science and technology. Now guess what? If I was looking at the hydrology descriptions from Mahabharata, the descriptions of river Saraswati and whatnot, 100 plus descriptions, then when I come to Pratyaksha here, objective testing, I would be looking at the river evidence. I would be looking at the geology evidence, geophysics, geochemistry, possibly climatology evidence, because that has an effect on the rivers. Okay, oceanography evidence possibly that has an effect on the rivers and so on, or oceanography data can tell you about the rivers, which rivers are meeting the ocean and so on and so forth, the delta formations, whatnot. That changes the type of technology, the type of science that you use to objectively test it. So I just kept it broader, like latest in science and technology, relevant to that subject. Now at the bottom, if it's something about Mahabharata, guess what? Mahabharata text is required. But depending on your own knowledge, the background knowledge you bring to the table, and what you need to learn in order to solve this problem. See, this is another problem. People just start solving a problem, Adityaji, and they think, okay, so now what do I do? Well, man, you are not ready for it. If you have to ask someone, what do I do now? Why did you even jump into solving a problem? Like a very immature and humorous example of that, Aditya, I'll tell you. This doesn't happen more because I immediately mute them, block them, because I don't have a time for that kind of stupidity. But you know what? In the past, when I had some time, I should say, people will be, say, on a Facebook or Twitter or some such social media platform, maybe even through the email groups and whatnot. They will be like arguing with someone, okay, about anything, Aryan invasion nonsense, some such stupidity. And then when they don't know how to respond, they in parallel, they will contact me and say, Nilesh, I need help. I'm fighting with this guy here about so and so. And this person asked me this and I don't know how to respond. And I said, my dear friend, why are you in a hurry to get into a debate and a discussion with someone? Do your own tapasya. It's the same thing. If you have to every time, see, there is nothing wrong in going and asking for help. But if every time you have to just go and say, what do I do next? You are not a researcher. You are just not a researcher. That's very important to understand. But depending on what particular area you are focusing on, the background knowledge is natural. See, if you follow these steps, if you follow this doubt clearing machine, and if you do a decent job at every step, the next step just naturally comes to you. For example, if it's astronomy descriptions from Mahabharata text, and then latest in science and technology is what? The mathematical calculation, astronomy software. Within astronomy software, one has to make sure that they pick the latest and the greatest astronomy, most precise and most accurate software that is available that they can afford. I mean, this consideration, what is the best, but what are the constraints, the monetary constraints, whatever, those are always there. In the lab when you work, I worked in polymer separation and polymer thermodynamics, whatnot. Depending on the money budget that we had, we decided which equipment we are going to buy, which rheometer we are going to buy, and which transmission electron microscope we are going to buy, and which cryo ultra microatomy device we are going to buy. Are we going to buy a DSC or not? It's just a common sense. So Darshan Shastra, you might need to learn. Science and technology, you need to understand what's the latest software. Also need to know, have a knowledge of astronomy, both Indian, modern. Because you may know Arundhati Vasishta in Indian astronomy, but you go to modern software, astronomy software, you're looking for Arundhati Vasishta, you will not find it. You should know it is Alcor and Mizar. That's what I mean by knowing that knowledge. Okay, let's go quick, fast through this. Now, people will say, oh, is this something new I'm telling you? Guys, absolutely not. Go back 7,583 years to the time of the Mahabharata war. Bhagwan Krishna, right on the first day of the war, 16 October 5561 BC, Bhagwan Krishna is telling Arjun, and of course, that has been encoded 18 plus years after by Bhagwan Vyasadeva in the Mahabharata. That's how it comes to us. Ya Shastra Vidimustruja Vartate Kamakarata Nasa Siddhimavapnoti Na Sukham Na Paragatim. This is what happens when you see these immature so-called researchers, okay, all kinds of doing fraud in the open daylight. In spite of that, they are not happy. I mean, they are doing a fraud of their own doing, but they're not happy. It has been given why it is not, they are not happy. Na siddhi labate ityasa, na va sukha na sadgati, na sa siddhi mavapnoti, na sukham na paragatim. They are not going to be happy here. They are not happy. You can look at their faces and you can tell. You can look at their tweets and you can tell. You can look at their blogs, read the blogs. You can see the guy, instead of doing something original, wants to write about my book, which is great. I'm thankful to those people, and make a ass of themselves, Adityaji, make a ass of themselves. And I'm saying, hey, you know what? Please write many more about my research. Please write many more. And I'm very happy to promote those books, Adityaji, because they also, because you know why I'm very happy. Of course, people will come to know, those people who are capable of comprehending, but those who are not, I will come to know about them, that this guy is another fool, you know. The person who reads that and says, I am convinced. I said, hey, good for you. Just move on with the life, man, you know, just be happy. Na siddhi labate ityasa, na va sukha na sadgati, na sa siddhi mavapnoti, na sukham na paragati. The proof is in the pudding. See, Adityaji, what you do, okay? And I'll not talk about yourself. I'll let you talk about yourself. But say me, people ask me, people actually, this is going back possibly 20 plus years. I will not digress, but like, you know, people will call me on the phone and just, I will smile, you know, like when I'm talking, saying good morning and how are you? And there is a smile on my face that kind of will get projected through my speaking, let's say. And the other side, this, I'm not telling you war story, I'm telling you a real story here. Other side, the person will say, oh, why are you amused? Or why are you smiling? And I'm saying, I'm smiling because I'm very happy. Okay, there, I don't need a reason to be smiling. I don't, of course, the fool, you know, people will say fool smiles, you know, yeah. If I'm a fool, hey, I'm happy. I'm a happy fool. So I'm saying I'm just happy with myself. You know, that's why, I mean, everyone has a tough life, you know, everyone goes through all kinds of crisis, that is given. But why feel like you are the only one who is such an unhappy person? The point is, if you don't follow the Shastra Marga, okay, yes, Shastra Vidhi, if you don't follow, you will not be successful in solving a problem. You will not able to do original research. You will not be happy, and na paragatim, not even here, and you won't get the the gati afterwards also. You know, you are doomed here and you are doomed in future. If, why I'm saying this, Adityaji, this is not to put anybody down. If people truly understand this, they will not get into the stupidity like these people sending me emails like saying, I have done this research, Nileshji, what do you think? See, just because they say G at the end, I don't get puffed up. You know, I said, no, you really don't want to know what I think of you. Because one time I understand, I give advice to these individuals, and if they don't understand, I put them in a spam email. You know, all their future emails go to the spam. And I'm not I mean, I don't even go and check whether they keep on still sending it or finally they get the message quickly. And then Arjun, and then we can stop. Arjun asked a question. Arjun asked a very interesting question. Arjun says, but hold on, Krishna, Bhagwan, I understand that the Shastra Marga should be followed. And otherwise, you won't be successful and you won't feel happy and not here, not there, kind of thing. But what about these people who are sincere? You know, when he's saying that Shraddha Purvaka, Ye Shastra Vidhi Mustruja Yajante Shraddhayanvita. So the person may be doing the thing imperfectly, or person may be doing the thing not in the right fashion, maybe even immature, all of that, but he's doing with a Shraddha. Ye Shastra Vidhi, this is the beginning of 17th chapter. ये शास्त्र विधि मुत्सृज्य यजन्ते श्रद्धयान्विता तेषां निष्ठा तुका कृष्ण सत्व maho rajastam. So now, how are you going to describe this? Like, you know, describe their shraddha, their work as a sattvic, rajasic, tamasic. Now, everyone should read, just like for Asuri and the understanding the today's modern day world Asura, one should read 16th chapter. One should read 17th chapter to do your what you can say self analysis. Where do you fit on many things? And we are, all of us are a mixture of sattva, raja, tama. There is no doubt about it. But the percentage changes, and we can change with our own tapasya, tapo balam hi sadhanam. We can change that percentage. The goal is to get towards sattvic and eventually even transcend sattvic. Because if you see the descriptions in 17 and even 18, what sattvic brings, sattvic can also be arrogance. Okay, that is not to say that somebody arrogant is sattvic. don't misunderstand the causation. A sattvic person, the sattvikta can also bring arrogance, but a fool can be arrogant, okay? Or a tamasi person can be extremely arrogant. So don't confuse that, by the way. So even one with a sattva, one sattvic, one has to be even careful. That is the point. But Arjun is asking, so hey, how do I decide that? And what are you going to make up of those people who may be immature, they may be doing somewhat wrong things, but they're at least sincere? And you are calling them names, or do we supposed to even scold them? And that's exactly Bhagavan Krishna says. He says, Trivida bhavati shraddha dehinansa svabhavaja satviki rajasi chaiva tamasi chetitam shunu. Why? There are hundreds of people, back to the Mahabharata dating, for example. Again, we are using that as an intuition engine. Why there are hundreds of Mahabharata researchers, out of that, at least like 50% of them, so say call 50 plus, are claiming that they use astronomy evidence. Even they will at least pretentiously say that they're using the astronomy evidence from the Mahabharata text. In reality, they are not even aware of all the astronomy evidence from Mahabharata text. Even after my work, they are so lazy. Can you guess? Can you imagine the level of laziness and immaturity? Even after my work, even after the works of the likes of Dr. P.V. Vartak, that was done 1970, which is what now? 50 plus years? And 50 plus years is not sufficient time. You still claim yourself have done something in the Mahabharata dating research and have not bothered to read what someone like Dr. P.V. Vartak has done, or not bother to read something that is written by someone like Dr. P.V. Kane. P.V. Kane wrote on a history of a Dharma Shastra. Directly has nothing to do with the Mahabharata dating. He understood the importance of Mahabharata dating. In the third volume, there are 5 volumes, History of Dharma Shastra. In the third volume, if you go to Kali Varja, you will see a elaborate, wonderful discussion as a Purva Paksha done in, say, 1960s, around that time, because he wrote that volume third at that time, of all the existing research related to the dating of Mahabharata. I don't know anyone in after 1960, and there are hundreds of these people claiming, has done such a any decent Purva Paksha. Now, because now we have a social media, Aditya, you and me actually did a series of Purva Paksha on specific alternate claims and therefore wrong claims for the dating of Mahabharata. If I am convinced, now of course people will say, Nilesh, you of course you will be convinced. Well, guys, you read and convince yourself. And if you're not convinced, tell me why you're not convinced that 5561 BC is the year of Mahabharata war. But you and me actually did a series on few, and then I think we digressed and went on, which is we also get tired. I get tired, just doing that one after another. Maybe we will pick up that and explore a few more other claims and show what kind of pure fraud is there, what kind of immature research that has taken place. And many novice people simply just go and just grab and say, oh yeah, that person has done something. Many people send me this, Nilesh, this guy has done research. What do you think? I said, say Mahabharata dating. I say, is it 5561 BC? They said, no, he has a different date. I said, then it's wrong. Common sense, guys. Just simple. The point here is, now Arjun is asking that, but what if the person, that novice that came to me asking, Nileshji, what do you think of this guy or this date? But the person is sincere, person has a Shraddha. What do you make of that person? Well, we have to decide. In fact, depending on what that person comes to the conclusion, we can decide where that person stands. Sattva, Raja, Tama, what kind of mixture he or she has. That's what Krishna is saying. Trivida bhavati shraddha dehinansa svabhavaja satviki rajasi chaiva tamasi chetitam shunu. This is a litmus test. For example, it's very, very clear. This is not like a putting somebody down. That's not what Krishna is doing. He says, okay, depending on your preference for like where you have a shraddha, where you do puja. Now, puja literally not just the symbolic puja with a flower. Of course, that is a puja. But puja meaning whose path do you follow? Okay, whose method, whose philosophy do you follow? How do you imbibe that philosophy? In that sense, it's a puja. Puja meaning a respect, and respect meaning you follow acharan. You do the acharan of what that person has taught. What does Krishna say? Yajante satvika devan, 17th chapter. Yajante satvika devan, yaksha rakshansi rajasa, pretambuta ganashchanye, yajante tamasa jana. It's very simple. Like, don't we say, if you want to know the person's character, know who he's associating with. It's the same thing. You want to know the person's intellect and what kind of things, what is the inkling, his or her inkling. Just look at who he's doing puja. Puja literally doesn't mean with a flower again. Yajante satvika, yajana, yajante satvika devan, yaksha rakshansi rajasa, pretambuta ganashchane, yajante tamasa jana. And this is something to be known. This pratyaksha that I showed, this pratyaksha, each of these sattvika, rajasa, tamasa, you can know through the pratyaksha. How? Just start with something very simple. Okay, if you know the Bhrugu Varuni Vidya, what is the first thing? Annam Brahmeti Vejanat. Everyone is after food. If you just take food, which means diet or eating, what does Krishna has to say about the Sattva, Raja, Tama diet? How many of you know, guys, that information is given in Bhagavad Gita, 17th chapter? Actually, the information about the diet comes everywhere in the Bhagavad Gita, but because I'm on the 17th chapter, I'm mentioning 17th chapter. Ayush sattva bala arogya sukha priti vivardhana rasya snigdha stira arudya ahara satvika priya. The kind of food that is liked by a sattvic person, and what kind of food, how does it look, the description of it, and what does it do? Ayush sattva bala arogya. Okay, bala, arogya, you will become healthy, you will get strength. That is that sattvic food. Rasya, snigdha, stira, rudya. The description is given. It's of course a very short description, because if you want a longer one, you can go to Charaka Samhita and all the Ayurveda Grantha and many other Granthas. Okay, if you want to get like, a problematic stomach, what is it? Kata vamla lavana tyushna tikshna ruksha vidahina ahara rajasyashchaiva dukkha shoka maya prada. A rajasic person, the mode of passion, that is a crude translation, the rajasic, what kind of food he or she likes? Kata vamla lavana tyushna tikshna ruksha vidahina. And what is the outcome? Tikshna ruksha vidahina ahara rajasyashchaiva dukkha shoka maya prada. It brings pain, it brings sadness, okay, that time when eating it feels good. But we, again, as I said, we are, each one of us, we are not just pure sattvic or rajasi or tamasi, we are a combination of it. This applies to even study, this applies even to the research. Okay, and I want to stop here. Aditya, what we will do is, I want to stop here, but we will do the next time this part 2 of this. Here what I want to do there is show. So now suppose even if we get this first 5 steps right, okay, even if we get this right, now we start actually doing the research. How do we get around those challenges? And again, there is enough of immature intellect and enough of research. So we will do that as a part 2, but I want to stop here because I already went there 1 hour and I got to jump on something else too. So let me stop sharing, give it back to you. And we'll do part 2 next time.
One comment usually comes in. So whenever you provide the Shastric evidences, people say Shastras have been changed.
Yeah.
So there is no point in reading all the references also.
Okay.
Generally when we read Shastra, we triangulate. Like I triangulate between Ramayana, Mahabharata and Bhagavad Puran, generally.
Yeah.
And sometimes other Puran also, if there is a need for that. And sometimes Veda also have started doing it now. So,
Yeah.
but so suddenly people come with the logic. If they can't put the 2 and 2 together, they'll say Shastras have been changed in last 1,000 years.
Okay. Well, see, think it like this. The change is always there. I mean, everything, right? For example, Sanatano Nitya Nutana. But that Nitya Nutana needs to be understood. Change in what? Change, you refresh yourself, like so tomorrow you go into your garden, the garden looks different. It has changed. but in some sense, it has not changed at all.
In nature, it has not
Nature.
changed.
Yeah, right?
Grass can grow, then you cut it again.
Correct. So there is a fundamentals that never change.
Never change.
Like the fundamentals of Hinduism we talked about, right? The freedom of thought, and the endurance in conduct and the absolute conviction in the morals, that has not changed. Their application changes. But again,
Like the rivers, Shonabhadra
like the
Nadi.
rivers, right?
Shonabhadra Nadi in Ramayana is flowing between Giribraj, but
Correct.
in
On the
Mahabharata is
other,
away.
right. On the other hand, if you don't understand, river is a beautiful example. If you don't understand the subtlety of it, there is a Greek philosopher who has said, you never put your feet into the same river twice.
Twice.
Right? So next time you go, everything has changed in some ways. But to understand the unchanging within the change is basically understanding Adhyatma. That's what it is.
And sometimes when you see things in totality, then you are absolutely right. Then you don't see any change because Nadi is still there, Shonabhadra is still there. Now the Shaloba Nadi is known as Sardhyaj Nadi.
Yeah,
Nadi is still there because you see the characteristics over there. The path has changed, but the
correct. And
characteristics are the
we,
same.
yeah, and we have changed and our habits have changed, so we have polluted them more.
Well,
Right?
don't even get started on the Ohio side over there.
All right, we will stop, but just remind me, we will continue with this because the second portion is also very important, and we will explore that next time.
So thank you all for joining, and please like, share, subscribe. And your favorite Nilesh Oak is back after a brief hiatus. He was traveling, and he did amazing work in Kashi. Check out his videos, check out his blogs, and also check out Prachyam also because Prachyam has done a wonderful work. It is, by the way, is many people's project, but Nilesh Oak ji's project also. So,
Great. You said it correctly, by the way. Yeah, thank you.
so thank you for liking the videos, and do let us know your feedback. Your likes are very important in the YouTube algorithm. And we are also on Spotify, and also we are on Rumble now. So you can check out our videos on Rumble as well as Spotify. Namaste and thank you.
Namaskar.